thank you all very much for coming. I'm looking around, I know a lot of people. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Dorrell. I'm the dramaturg here at the Salt Lake Acting Company. And here, and we're very lucky to have him, is the Playwright Sharr White. Thank you, Sean. Welcome to Salt Lake City.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've had a very brief tour of this strange and unusual place. We are working Sharr very hard, actually, because when did you arrive? Friday?
Friday, yeah.
And we did first night, then we did rehearsals yesterday and today for your reading for Sunlight, which is your newer play.
The new play.
Which we are reading Monday night at 7 o'clock, so please come to that. And I'll shamelessly plug that. I have no hesitation in doing that whatsoever. Sharr, tell us something, please, about the history of this play, and tell us how you came to think about it, because it's a very unusual thing, the way it's constructed and so on. I think it's
well, I started writing the play in 2003. A friend of mine who I'd been involved with had been working on some small productions. He and I had produced a series of small plays, one of which took place in a hotel room. So he wanted to do another series of hotel room plays and said, "Can you?"
Producers always do.
I know, yeah. Those hotel room plays. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so he wanted something that was in a. We were going to do these 2 1-acts in a hotel room in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I had already had the idea, in a way, of this play, and so I mean the first scene really is a modified version of the 1-act that we had wound up doing, but it was about 2003, I guess, when I started writing it. I had already been. I'm fairly obsessed with American history, particularly post-war history, and there was this. If you recall what was happening in 2003, we were moving very quickly towards invading Iraq. I'm from New York, and there was this feeling in New York City that because of the towers falling, there was a level of, I think, direct exposure to tragedy that I felt the rest of the country didn't really have, in the way that the situation was so quickly boiled down to good and evil and all of this stuff. And there was this level of sort of humanity that I think was expressed around us in New York. And there was a bit of an alienation about it too, about being a part of this movement all of a sudden. And I think that's where Phil was really born, is the idea of this character who just can't believe that the world has moved on.
Set out with a great historical intention as well. So.
Well, no, it really didn't. It really didn't. But then I think it provided the opportunity to suddenly talk about what I really wanted to talk about, which was at the time, and still does, what was happening in this cycle of what we do, I think, in this country, in terms of there is this cycle of warfare, veterans returning, being unable to speak about their experience, idolatry because of being able to speak about that experience, and the next generation needing to follow them into another conflict to know their fathers.
And there's often, so part of that syndrome is some care and then a rapid dropping off of medical care, psychiatric care. I mean, I think psychiatric care is quite new.
Yeah, yeah. And even so, I mean, and I think, this time around we've been there has been this reaction post-Vietnam to say, we're very careful to thank veterans as much as we can and to ramp up care, and it's interesting how much that still doesn't necessarily help.
The play showed how war and the experience of it didn't just affect Phil, it affected Meredith. And to me, there was a feeling of despair and anger, and nothing left to lose, that evolved over the years, and that they both paid the price of going to war, and their whole family.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's something that I was finding more as it was going on, because Meredith certainly has her own level of trauma, which is and I found some writings on this too, that the traumatic effects of those waiting for their loved ones to return, that there can be an equal amount of really emotional strain and hardship, and that this physically affects, you know, they're in their own, those who wait are in a way in their own war. It's sort of a different war, but that plays itself out as well. So certainly this is, yeah. I mean I think Meredith absolutely is playing out her own response to the years and years of waiting too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that seeing the play rather than reading actually brings up, and particularly by that last scene, you get the sense of what she's been through. Yes?
Just a comment about Phil's feeling the world had left him behind. I was in the military during the Korean War, and there were many World War II vets that were called up to serve again. And many of them felt their life was so disrupted the second time that they just sort of not gave up, but they decided to stay in the military because of it. You couldn't go back out and readjust the second time.
Oh, you mean the process of readjustment was too hard?
Yes.
And so they signed up, what, for life?
Yeah.
As a career soldier?
To have to readjust again after Korea in the way that they'd adjusted after.
Yeah, no, that's one, you don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
I was looking around, any more questions? Take
Just,
one.
I really like the ending and I really like the play, but it almost seemed a little too pat. And I just was wondering if that was a process of getting there too quickly and the length, which ties into the struggle you're talking about in terms of condensing. Kind of how'd you get there?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid comment. I mean, I think that at the end was always the end of the play. And yeah, you know, I trimmed that scene down by 10, 12 pages. Again, with taking out all the other peripheral characters, there's always this question, how much can an audience take? This is the sort of game, you know. Can they take this much? Well, can they take that much? You know, if we throw in this little joke, can they take that much more? You know, there's this sort of, what sort of relationship is it going to have? And yeah, I think this is something I will always question about this play, is how did I do it a favor by making it as clean as I did, or did I ultimately do it a disservice? I guess I'm never really going to know that.
Well, one of the interesting things about that, though, is you go back to a motel room, there are obvious parallels between that and the first, which I actually like.
Yeah.
I actually feel that it does have that sort of almost like squashing like an accordion, but it makes it whole.
Yeah. It did seem like that was the only place I could end it somehow.
Yeah.
It had to end there. It had to end somewhere, you know, far away that was alien from them. But it's a matter of, you know, how much is in there by the time you get to that point, you know, and yeah, I think that's valid.
No, well, thank you. Please do come. It's tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yes.
And Sharr will be in the hot seat, not with me, but with David Mom tomorrow night.
Correct.
We're working very hard. So thank you very much.
I thought you enjoyed it so much. Good.